Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be, wherever you're joining in from, whether it's live, whether it's on the playback, you're all very welcome to another pre-match carnage. My God, the pre-match and the post-matches are hitting us hard, but that's what happens when you're a big club playing the big boy leagues, and it's no bigger league than the Champions League, right, people? Yeah, do that. You should have done that while I was talking, while the show started. You should have been in the background, everyone. Because you're doing it without your lips moving as well, which is class. It's actually class the way you're doing it without your lips moving. So, people, I am so sorry I'm late, but as my good friend from the Big Six says, lateness is greatness. And I've got a panel to speak about the game tomorrow, which is Liverpool Napoli. Ohms, we always tend to draw Napoli. It's a madness, isn't it? What is this? It's like we have like a magnetic sort of trance pulled towards them every time there's a Champions League involved.
This happens with everyone, man. I feel like there was a period where Arsenal kept drawing. I mean, Arsenal drew Bayern Munich how many times? They kept drawing Dortmund in the groups. But Napoli, I call them our European bogey team because, boy, the now Stadio Diego Armando Maradona is the toughest place on earth to play football for the Reds.
It is. It is. It's mad because our records there's quite bad.
In good form. And we're now going there in bad form. So I'm hoping maybe there's a bit of reverse psychology that now we're out of form, we might get a good result there. But
absolutely. People, obviously, I put out a tweet this morning asking for Napoli fans who would be willing to do a preview with me, and I was inundated with replies and messages, and the most popular one I've managed to get. So welcome, making his debut on my stream, on my channel. Welcome, Mohammed Salad. How are you, brother?
Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate you having me. I'm excited. Looking forward to speaking some good football and breaking down the pros and cons. I mean, obviously Liverpool's not a stranger to us, especially in the Champions League. Obviously, we've missed the Champions League for the last 2 years, but our last 3 Champions Leagues, including this one, you've been in the same group as us. We've got a pretty favourable record against you guys in the Champions League. We've won 2, drawn 1, and lost 1. Obviously, the one we lost was the most important one because you went on to win the Champions League. That Alisson save will go down in history, but they're never boring affairs because they're 2 teams that are direct. They play a similar style of football. They both like to press. They both like to keep the ball. They both involve their wing backs very much. But this time is the first time I feel like Napoli have the slight advantage.
I can see that. I can absolutely see that, and the reasons why we're going to go into why you would think that and why we may even agree. Ohms, from our point of view, because we want to get most of the insight from the Napoli side, but from our point of view, I know you tuned into the RedFellas podcast last night, and we kind of discussed maybe it's a welcome distraction from the perils of the league right now, especially in terms of injuries and everything else and the pressures. Maybe this is a slight change of tact. Positive thoughts going into this, as far as you're concerned, and kind of people say fresh start. It's not, but a fresh competition for sure, right?
Yeah, takes us away from the hustle and bustle of the Premier League. That sort of pressure we put ourselves under in the Premier League. And look, it's the Champions League, man. We in 2005 we finished 5th in the league, but we still won the Champions League. It's Liverpool's competition in England. We are the kings of Europe in England. We could have dethroned the actual kings of Europe, Real Madrid, last year. But look, we have a love affair with this competition. Good old big ears. I think the song goes "The Meisters, the Champions, and something else." But I love this competition, and I think it's just now for the boys to go out there, put whatever's happened behind them, and give their all in Naples.
Mohammed,
Yes,
when the draw was made, how did you feel? Obviously, the other clubs we're not going to talk about right now, but in terms of Liverpool, what kind of, because obviously from a Liverpool point of view, we think, Napoli again. like mixed reactions. So we have good memories, we have bad memories, but overall, there's not disastrous memories per se, because we still managed to get through, even though we may not get the result against Napoli as you guys. But in your case, you often find that we're an obstacle because you don't get through, and we are getting through. So maybe
I think in the last 2 years we've gone through once. Obviously, you've gone through both times, but one time we didn't go through, but that's because we had PSG in the group, and it was kind of it was a very difficult situation, and it needed an Alisson save right at the end for us not to go through, because I remember you guys had lost a few games in that group stage. We hadn't lost the entire that entire competition apart from that last game, and obviously goal difference and whatnot, head to head, etc. You guys managed to go through. So it's always a fun game, and especially with our current coefficient, we're always going to draw one of the big boys. And if it's going to be Bayern Munich, Man City, currently, I'd rather it be Liverpool than anyone else.
Interesting. No, we admire honesty on this channel. We always do. There's no point coming on a channel, even though they may be your direct opponents, and mincing your words and saying things that you may say on social media, but when the camera's put on you, you swear. So we like that about you already. You know what I mean? We like people that speak their opinion. Reversely, on the other side, from our point of view, Omar, I pretty much would say that Napoli aren't in the top tier, but by no means are they a walkover. It's one of those games where you kind of just say, yeah, well, you're expected to pick, as you know, as we were, to get one of the big boys, fairly big boys, and Napoli, it is, I guess.
Yeah, I think, having said that, when I looked at pot 3, I did want to avoid Napoli just because of
for sure
we've had with them. But like you said, like, especially with not having one of the big boys, having Ajax come from the top pot, it takes the pressure off us a bit more, because like I'm sure we'll get into it, but I fancy both our teams to qualify out of this group, unless
I do as well.
Rangers use Ibrox to a different level. But I feel like we are the two strongest teams in the group. So look, I'm just happy it's not Napoli and PSG again, if that makes sense.
Of course. Because we seem to always find ourselves in a group of death. Our first year back in the Champions League after coming back from relegation, etc., etc. Our first year back, we had Villarreal. We were in pot 4, obviously. We had Villarreal, Man City, Bayern Munich. The year after that, it was that crazy group where we had Arsenal, Borussia Dortmund, Napoli, and Marseille, where the top 3 teams all finished on 12 points. Marseille got beat by everyone twice. They ended up on 0 points. And we ended up going out because of goals conceded or something. So it's always something along those lines that happen to us. So it's nice to finally get a group where, of course, you got one of the big boys, and then you got 2 teams which were more than capable of beating. So
yeah, no, it's a fantastic group all round. There's no distinct weak team, and there's no clear strong team. We would have been if we were in normal form and injuries and everything. But because of the situation we find ourselves in, as you said, it's much of a muchness, especially this first game. Mohammed, I want to stick with you, and I want you to speak about, sort of, let us know, the people that haven't been following Napoli, sort of maybe the last time we played them. And obviously, since then, especially this season, you've lost the likes of Koulibaly, the likes of Dries Mertens, Insigne,
Ospina as well, who was massive for us.
The goalkeeper,
Ospina, who was massive for us.
Absolutely. So guide us through the managerial change, I guess, because he's been there. Is this his second full season?
Second season. It's the second full season. Yeah.
So give us an insight into what he's changed from the previous regime, and sort of the kind of transfer window you have, and if you're happy with it where you are right now.
So last year, Napoli were firmly in the title race until the final few weeks. We had a terrible run of form in April, during Ramadan, actually. So we dropped points 3 games in a row, and that ultimately ended our title race. We started the season, we won 9 of our first 10 last year. It was the best start in Serie A history, and then we kind of had a few slumps in form. But going into this summer, obviously, which is going to fast forward throughout the season, we played some good football at points. We played some really good football. But the problem with Napoli has always been we play up or down to our competition. So we'd go to Milan one week, who ended up winning it. We'd beat Milan 1-0 away, have an incredible performance, and then the week directly after, we'd lose at home to Spezia and then lose at home to Empoli straight after. And then we play Inter Milan and have an incredible performance against Inter Milan, but then lose against Sassuolo. So things like that were always the case with Napoli. And we've seen parts of that this year too, where we drew against Lecce and then the week after that, we absolutely destroy Lazio. So that thing is still evident. But back to the changes, obviously we've lost some of the biggest and best players that ever play at our club. Some of our legends, our captain, our vice captain, and our third captain have all gone. Our keeper that has been so important for us decided to leave at the end.
And Mohammed, is this because of financial reasons, restraints, or is it just
I don't think it's necessarily financial. Obviously, because we've missed the Champions League for the last 2 seasons, and players' contracts are coming to the end. It's a situation where Lorenzo, for his contract was ending at the end of this year, and you have to pay him at 30 years old. He was offered a massive contract in the MLS. It's the richest contract ever in the MLS, more than David Beckham, Ibrahimovic, etc. You can't disagree with that. He's getting, he's one of the highest paid players in the world right now. He's up there with Ronaldo, Lewandowski, etc. With Koulibaly, he had 1 year left on his contract. When a 40 million bid comes for someone with a 1 year left on his contract and he's past the age of 30, it's kind of difficult to refuse that. And also, from a Napoli fan's perspective, I'm happy for Lorenzo Insigne living that American lifestyle. Happy for Koulibaly playing consistent Champions League football now, playing for Chelsea, who he's always wanted to play for. The one that kind of was a miss was Dries Mertens, because he wanted to stay at all costs, but they couldn't work it out. He wanted playing time for the World Cup, which he wasn't going to be afforded, or it wasn't going to be guaranteed, because Napoli wanted to move on, make the squad younger and cheaper. So saying that, with all of the signings that have come in, a lot of them have hit the ground running, putting it mildly. Kim, the centre-back that we brought from Fenerbahce, has been absolutely amazing. He's slotted in where Koulibaly was playing left centre-back, and he's been arguably our best player consistently throughout the season. Everyone's had an off game, even the wonder boy that we're definitely going to get into, Kvaratskhelia. He's had 1 or 2 off moments, but Kim has been that one player that has been consistently incredible throughout. And that's been a surprise. So the back four's come together very, very well. So he's played well. Our midfield pretty much stayed the same, and our front three has essentially stayed the same, apart from Kvaratskhelia coming in.
You say the midfield's been the same. Remind me, guys, Fabian Ruiz, did he end up leaving or
Fabian Ruiz left, but we didn't replace him. In our starting lineup, we've just changed the system we play, we play with 3 in midfield instead of 2. And Zielinski. So before, it used to be, we used to play 4-2-3-1, and either Anguissa or Lobotka would play with Fabian Ruiz. But now that Fabian Ruiz is gone, we play with both of them as well as Zielinski. So we play 4, and that's our best formation. Napoli have invested heavily in the midfield this year. We've also got Ndombele and Elmas fits into the midfield. So one of the things I was going to say is our biggest strength is your biggest weakness at the moment.
We're going to get into the tactical side of things in a few minutes, because I believe Omar has your lineup from the last game, and we'll talk about that. But in terms of Liverpool, Mohammed's right. He's not even gassing. Like right now, Liverpool seem a soft touch. Like it seems like we're a very easy team to play against, right? That's not like us, right? We hate to be in that kind of position. I hate being a soft touch to play, because over the last few years, we're probably the nastiest, the hardest team to play against. We've got to fix that ASAP.
Yeah, and I completely agree. That nastiness came from the midfield. Like that. I remember the Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson midfield. That was tough to play against, especially in Europe. We used to go away, Allianz Arena, all sorts of grounds, and absolutely dominate it in there. So it is a concern. And we looked at our midfield from the weekend. No matter how exciting it was, Fabinho, Elliott, Carvalho, it was too open, and Everton were able to pick their gaps in between our teams. So we have to, and it's hard, right? Because something I associate with our midfield is sort of Jordan Henderson's like combativeness in midfield, right? And him and Fabinho being tenacious. Fabinho's out of form at the moment. Thiago's probably not gonna start this game, so that's arguably still our best midfield, or in terms of going away from home, in terms of experience, missing or out of form. So I'm really intrigued to see how we're gonna deal with that. Maybe
I think Thiago is going to be a massive miss for you guys. I mean, obviously it's clear to see, but Thiago is just such a good player. He's that one player that you've got that can create something out of nothing. He can I mean, he's an incredible football player, but unfortunately, I mean, fortunately for us, he's not you know.
We're gonna look at your team or the team that you played last week. If you can get that up from me for us, Omar. Before we get into that, guys, I know I keep changing my times of my shows, but really love and appreciate the support as always. Over 150 of you in here. Thank you very much for the love and support, but lack of likes is alarming. I don't know why. Are you not liking it because Mohammed came on and said he'd rather play Liverpool? Is that why you're not liking the stream? Come on, man, guys, get those likes up, man. Let's get into this. Mohammed, take us through. You've gone through some of the names, and obviously some of them are fairly names that we've heard of because
unknown. Yeah, I mean, there's a few.
There's unknown and there's sure. So, for example, I'm going to start straight away through the middle, and obviously you can tell us the rest. Zielinski, I'm going to mention because we were very, very much interested in him.
You've always been linked with him. You've always been. I mean, every summer, Zielinski and Liverpool seem to be matched up.
And the reason why,
perfect sense, by the way.
I was just going to say, and the reason why is when you see him play, he's probably the ideal 8 in a Klopp system. You can just imagine him being a fantastic addition to our squad, but it didn't happen. He hasn't gone on to any other clubs as well. Talk to us. Last couple of seasons.
Correct me. I mean, if I know there's a few of my Napoli friends that are here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he may have signed the contract extension. Zielinski, over the last few years, with different managers, we tinker between 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. He's always played his best football at 4-3-3. And I know this formation says 4-2-3-1, but he's very much a number 8 with Lobotka at the 6, Anguissa and Zielinski on either side, and he does everything perfectly. When Zielinski's on form, there's nothing he can't do. His left foot is as good as his right foot. He can dribble, he can drive with the ball, he can find the pass, and he's quite tenacious as well. When he wants to be, he can win you the ball back. So so the Liverpool thing makes so much sense. He would be absolutely perfect for you guys. That direct level of football that you guys play, trying to catch teams on the counter attack when you do want to do that. I mean, it's just incredible.
Are you surprised no other major club came in for him? Because we're quite the talent ID. We've got quite the talent ID. We know when we see a player. Absolutely. And obviously now, like at the time, people were saying, who? Liverpool are targeting Zielinski, some Polish player that plays in Napoli. Like, what are we doing? But Europe is seeing that he's one of the best attacking midfielders around, right? So are you surprised no other club? Are you surprised no other club came in for him?
See, the thing is, when you look at all the other big clubs, right? You look at Manchester City, that kind of profile of player, and they're stacked at midfield. Gundogan, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. He's not someone that could use him, right? I'm somewhat surprised Chelsea weren't interested in, but you go to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich was, I mean, I feel like, yes, so he did sign an extension. My friend just confirmed it. I'm sure Bayern Munich were interested in him at some point as well this summer. So I feel like it's just the profile of player that he is. There's a few teams that he would go and fit perfectly, but then there's other teams that he wouldn't as much.
Fair enough. Ohms, we're going to ask Mohammed about the latest injury situation or suspension situation, but let's just assume that is probably the lineup. Obviously, Mohammed will correct us if it's not, or if he thinks there might be changes. Who would stand out for you in terms of a danger man, apart from the obvious one we're going to go into and look into, or maybe possible weaknesses that you see that we could target?
So I just want to try this first of all. Kvaratskhelia.
Close enough.
Okay,
we've as Napoli fans, we listen to his name so often that I mean, we kind of get it now. But
so go on. We were gonna hold back on the main star boy of your team, but let's just say it how it is now. Mohammed, say how it is. How do you say his name?
Kvaratskhelia.
Okay, is there a nickname, brother?
Kvara.
Please.
Kvara.
Okay.
So it's the first 5 letters of his second name.
We're gonna go with Kvara, yeah, for the sake
or Kvicha, which is his first name.
Okay. Yeah,
Kvaratskhelia
Kvara or
or
Kvaratskhelia. Yeah.
yeah.
Holmes, we saying?
Looking at their team in terms of weaknesses, I know Salah has had Mario Rui's number in a few games. The notorious game is the one where we beat you guys. So yeah, I assume if he is going to start, then that I would be looking at Salah sort of exposing him down that side, but it depends where Salah plays because we've seen him play on the touchline almost. And is he going to be as effective, sort of darting inside of Mario Rui? But like Mohammed said, Kim, the centre back from Fenerbahce, he's that's probably where Salah's going to look to operate. So maybe can he keep up with the likes of Mohamed Salah? Who knows? But I think if we're looking at a weakness, I think to be honest, right now their midfield is probably better than ours. And we're going to have to sort of maybe look at those diagonal balls to sort of get in behind their fullbacks to the likes of Diaz. Maybe Nunes hits the channels as he did against us in the Champions League. So, yeah, Osimhen, he is a threat. But then if he is coming up against the likes of Matip, Van Dijk or Gomez, like those guys are top tier centre backs. I don't feel a threat from him. I feel like Kvara and their midfield is really their sort of main angles of dominating us.
I've been on the Yosinam train. We were, by the way, Mohammed, we were
Linked
very
with him as
much
well.
interested.
Yeah.
We actually were very, very interested in him. But obviously, at the time, Napoli came out with some crazy deal for him, and we just walked away. Osimhen, and I'm very surprised that no major club looking for strikers this season didn't come for Osimhen. That's how highly I rate him.
Before Arsenal signed Gabriel, we rejected an 85 million euro bid for him.
There you go. Because for
I
me,
feel like this is his last year in Napoli, in my opinion. I don't see him staying past this year, unless we win the league.
This guy, I mean, Omar doesn't seem as a threat, and obviously Omar is known to get a few calls wrong. I totally see him as a threat. I think this guy is dangerous, very dangerous. But we have got the profile of centre back that can deal with a physical striker. We maybe sometimes struggle with strikers that are more nimble and play across the lines and sort of play between the lines, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah.
The likes of Zielinski for me is a threat. We have to keep an eye on him making late darting runs, pullbacks, very much like Man City play with Bernardo and Kevin De Bruyne and Gundogan coming on the end of those pullbacks. But Mohammed, tell us if that's the expected lineup as far as you're concerned, and let us know if there's any injuries or suspensions or who may come in.
The only change I see from this lineup right now is Lozano, who came off at halftime with a head injury, and his replacement Politano played incredibly well in the second half against Lazio. So I see that being a change. And
was it concussion?
I think he got a concussion. I mean, he was stretchered off, and it looked really bad. But all the results yesterday. All the results yesterday came back negative, so it wasn't anything major. It wasn't any fracture or anything like that. So, so thankfully he's okay. But I do prefer, and I do think Politano will start. Going back to the Osimhen thing, even if Osimhen is having the worst game, Osimhen will be a nuisance, and that will cause problems one way or another. And all it takes is for him to get one scrappy lucky touch, and we're in. It's and I was telling Ohms just before we went live, he starts our press. So you'll see him multiple times ushering the players like, yo, now's the time. Let's press. Obviously there were reports saying that he's injured. I think it's just mind games, to be fair. I don't see Osimhen.
He didn't come off, did he? He didn't come off.
He didn't. He played the full 90. I don't see maybe he did come off in the last few minutes. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I was just so I was really interested in the score, and I mean, just like holding on to that lead because it was such a great performance. I think, as we mentioned, obviously the midfield is definitely Napoli's biggest strength this year. And as we know, football is won in midfield. I mean, I'm sure you remember the last time we played and we beat you. Our midfield was Alan, Fabian, Zielinski played as well. And Alan was just incredible. And I think Anguissa is Alan, but just better. He's better on the ball.
Remind us, Anguissa is the guy that you bought from Fulham, am I right?
Fulham, we got him on loan last year, and it was an absolute steal. And short story about Anguissa. Anguissa got off the plane on the deadline transfer transfer deadline day, and he started against Juventus 3 days later with one training session, and he absolutely bossed it. And since then, he's won the hearts of Napoli fans. He obviously got injured a few times last year, and he wasn't really the same. But this year, he started how he started last season. He's been absolutely incredible. Lobotka, a lot of people don't know about. He's the Slovakian that was recommended to us by Marek Hamšík. He's like, yo, this is the guy. Get him. And in his first season, in his first year and a half or so, he wasn't great. Gattuso didn't favor him at all. He gained a bit of weight, but Spalletti has seemed to revive him, and you'll get to know him tomorrow.
I think on the Grizz, I remember on the Euro show, Bilal was really talking up, I think, Lobotka, saying how underrated he is in that six.
Very underrated. He's got the most incredible touch. He's anti-press. He'll rarely lose the ball. And him and Anguissa complement each other so well because they are both very, very good on the ball. Anguissa actually completed our most dribbles last year of any player on our team, and he plays as one of our holding midfielders, one of our box-to-box midfielders. And him and Lobotka complement each other very well. With them two kind of protecting, it allows Zielinski to just do what Zielinski does. Obviously, Grizz, you know about Zielinski. We haven't even spoken about Kvaratskhelia yet.
Well, we're going to come to him because there's no doubt on either side. So all the other players we can debate, and we can say Anguissa, yeah, I get it. Very good technically, very strong on the ball as well. But if you called the other guy press resistance, from what I remember, Anguissa, he can be pressed.
He is.
Zielinski is very, very good if you give him the space. But, again, someone that is not consistently consistent.
Who?
If you know what I mean?
Zielinski.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, Zielinski, again, I think what you said, Zielinski, if he's on his game, he does everything. Left foot, right foot. He reminds me of Alexander Hleb when he's at his best. Do you remember that? You probably guys are probably too young to remember Hleb from Arsenal.
28.
Okay, so you might remember Hleb from Arsenal.
I remember Hleb.
But this guy, right foot, left foot, skillful on the ball, touch, everything to his game. The wonder kid that no one can debate is this guy, Kvara. Where did you find him from? What is he about? What's his strengths?
He's a Georgian that he had a loan spell at Rubin Kazan, and then we as soon as Insigne was confirmed to go to Toronto around March, there was like, okay, we're signing this kid. And then if you and then obviously when your team signs a player you don't know, the first thing you do is you read about, obviously, well, I don't know about watching videos. I mean, I read about him first, and then you watch the videos, and then so I decided. I mean, I like to watch full games, so I watched the game against Spain. It was Georgia against Spain, and Georgia's one of those teams like Moldova. So when they play against the European big boys, it's normally a 4-0 drubbing, 5-0 drubbing. But when you watch that game, every time he touched the ball, every single person in the crowd stood up. The noise was impeccable, and you can see why, because he was the one guy that not only was doing his offensive duties, he was very, very tenacious. He'd be chasing the fullback down, winning the ball, beating one or two players, winning a foul. He also scored on the stroke of halftime. But it was just his performance in that game, playing for a team where nobody knows the other 10 players. You're the only one that kind of has some sort of name, and then for you to stand up and perform like that, and for it to be 1-1 until the 92nd minute against Spain with players like Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, is just absolutely incredible. And then you go to watch his highlights, and you can just see instantly what he's all about. And I've never seen a player come from the Georgian league, come to a league like the Serie A, one of the top 3, top 4 biggest leagues in the world, and just take it by storm and make it look like an absolute joke. I've never seen anything like it. Every other player, it takes 1 or 2 games to get into it. But this guy, I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it.
Holmes, you're a fan, aren't you, as well, of this guy? We spoke about him on the Euro show a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week even.
His shot power is like the goal he scored against Lazio. The way he can shoot with such minimal backlift is a pretty impressive thing. But yeah, I'm a big fan, man. And like, it's just he's playing on that left hand.
Did you see his shot that hit the post? When he done the pirouette, when he did the pirouette, he done the 360 Zidane, and then he just shot it with, as Omar was saying, 0 backlift off the post. Not crazy.
Yeah, and that's the channel Grizz is playing in, that right hand defensive channel, which is the notoriously problematic one for us because we know how Trent plays. Trent's up there. So if they manage, and it is worrying, like, do we maybe have to go to a Joe Gomez at right back and maybe adjust our game plan to sort of, because I don't want to sound like negative, but like notoriously Napoli have been this for me, this is the hardest game in the group, Napoli away.
Without doubt.
So,
but can I just say something real quick? I was going to mention what you just said. I saw a lot of tweets about Joe Gomez starting and not Trent. I think not starting Trent is something you just shouldn't do, because what Trent does plays against our biggest weakness. Crosses to the back post, which we tend to fall asleep on.
Okay.
So I was gonna come to the weaknesses, because I'm gonna tell you my assessment of the weaknesses. Because so far we're making Napoli sound like prime Barcelona, but I'm coming.
Yeah, Grizz. Every team is playing like prime Barcelona against us.
That's true. That's true. That's true. We made Fulham look like prime Barcelona.
Everton looked incredible.
Yeah.
Especially like Alex Iwobi in midfield. Wow.
Yeah, we made Lampard look like prime Ancelotti, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, tactician. You know what I mean? Tactical. But look, I get it, and I agree. I've just spoke to you about my admiration of Osimhen for 2-3 seasons. I was like, oh, this guy is serious. And when I find out, every time I look at his age and I think 23, I think, how is this beast 23 already? Sorry. This guy, I mean, he had a nasty eye socket injury, didn't he, Mohamed, last season?
Yeah, he started the season on form, and then he went up for a header, and he's so brave is another thing. Like with the face mask,
fearless.
So he went up for a header. It wasn't anything malicious. It was a clash of heads, and he just got the worst off. He got, obviously, the weakest part of the face is the cheekbone, so the back of the head is the strongest part of the other player, and then it kind of full momentum into the cheekbone, and he was out for a very long time.
From a Liverpool point of view, where I'm looking to attack them and hurt them is that back four. Now, you guys can dress them up how you want, yeah. But Koulibaly, for me, was one of the most underrated centre backs of the last decade. Koulibaly was one of the best centre backs.
There's no replacing Koulibaly. No one's dressing out. Bro.
You're not right. So let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, no.
Listen. So brother Kim from Fenerbahce.
Sorry, just real quick. I said the only way you replace Koulibaly is if you sign Van Dijk. He's in that tier of centre back, and we're not going to do that. So there's no one you get in the world right now is going to be Koulibaly anytime soon. And let's just get that out. Let's just get that out there.
Absolutely. And look, Di Lorenzo and Rui are going to be playing up against Diaz and Mohamed Salah. Possibly Diogo Jota, who may come in for Diaz. Now, direct, pacey, attacking wingers is not what these guys are used to facing week in, week out in Serie A. They're used to technical players coming in, holding onto the ball, laying it off, doing a bit of a trick, looking for a through ball. Nah. People know that Liverpool's wingers are direct, fast, and they go for your throat. This is where I would personally see the biggest threat, and especially the centre-backs. Kim has been good, but I'm not about to say Kim has remotely, and Mohamed's confirmed it, remotely on Koulibaly's levels. And Rahmani, I'm not going to say you right now, because tomorrow he might turn into prime, you know what I mean, Rio Ferdinand. But I think we can get the better of Rahmani. Again, you guys...
If you're going to get the better of one of the two, it will be him. But I will say this, Rahmani might not be the most pleasing defender on the eye, but he does get the job done in terms of winning the ball back in his...
But this is it. But this is it, because you've gone for profile, because you've gone for him to replace Manolas, who was very much the same. Manolas was win the ball at all costs. He didn't care about positional sense. And if Bobby's playing tomorrow, he's going to have to think about positional sense.
He will.
Yeah. So Manolas was like physically intimidating, trying to intimidate every attacker he faced. Manolas would follow you everywhere and just growl at you and try to put you off, kind of thing.
I love your assessment, by the way. It's incredible that, like, it's very deep. I'm really enjoying this.
Alhamdulillah. People call me football man for a reason.
I love it.
But Manolas was our version of, and it was our version of the old school Skirtle. Martin Skirtle was just, like front foot defender.
Yeah.
But up there was a bit, come on, use your brain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think these guys, we can, if Bobby plays, I think he can drag Rahmani out of position. And as good as Anguissa is on the ball, I don't know what Mohamed, because Mohamed sees him far more than me, but from my assessment, how good Anguissa is on the ball, he's not great off the ball. And this, but saying that, we're not great currently in the midfield to make those off the ball runs, which balances it out.
But sorry.
Yeah, tactically, how I see it then is, do we stick to that game plan where we sort of, where I'd be happy to play Trent and we sort of skip our midfield because we know they might have our number there, and we look to play those diagonals in between those channels. Maybe find Bobby direct. If Firmino is playing, find Firmino in those sort of pockets from our fullbacks, and then have the likes of Jota, maybe Nunes sort of coming in on the angle, whoever's playing on the left. So or do we just have overload that side with the likes of Nunes and Jota, who are such direct players, and sort of hit that diagonal? Because in against European teams, that diagonal has worked a treat for us. The amount of times Trent found Diaz in the run-in to the Champions League final was ridiculous last season. So is that a sort of a tactic we've tried that hasn't been effective so far, but might actually be effective against this Napoli team? Because
Mohamed, tell us what would
so one of my friends, Pete, we were talking in the group chat earlier about our weaknesses, and we have these conversations obviously in our football group chat, and it was literally what Ohms is saying right now. It's that Trent ball, not necessarily over the top, because all of our defenders are pretty quick on the ball, or not quick off the ball, sorry. So they've got that recovery pace, etc., etc. But more so the Trent cross to the back post, because Napoli's fullbacks tend to fall asleep. Even like Robertson from one side and Trent from the other side, those crosses, especially if Nunes plays, he'll place himself on the fullback on the back post, and there's a lot of chances there for Liverpool. So I think set pieces we haven't conceded. I mean, we've looked. See with the set pieces thing, I think our goalkeeper is not the most assured. Alex Meret is an incredible shot stopper, but the other parts of being a goalkeeper in terms of being commanding, kind of scooping up and catching, punching, is where he lacks. So when it comes to set pieces, not necessarily our defenders, but the goalkeeper is where you can hit us on set pieces. So kind of between the penalty spot and the 6-yard line, when he has to make up his mind, do I stay on my line? Do I have to come out and punch it? That kind of area is where you can get the most of us.
That's Jota's zone, isn't it, Grizz?
Yes. I mean, I hope Jota doesn't play and you go with Nunes, Salah and Diaz. I hope so. But if Jota plays, I feel a lot less confident, because Jota and Firmino provide things that we can't handle or haven't seen as of yet. Strikers like Nunes, you see on a regular basis in Serie A, tall, pacey, hold up play in behind, etc. So that's something that these defenders are used to dealing with. But players like Firmino, who kind of, you have to think about where they are at all times. Players like Jota, who are so nimble, that's the kind of thing you don't see in the Serie A. And players like Rahmani and Kim haven't seen as often. And I think that's where you can hurt us if those two play.
Guys, we're going to wrap this up very soon. This has been a fantastic, quick little bang, bang, bang clap preview. I was late and Mohamed has to go somewhere. And of course, people already know in the chat that I've got Big Six in 5 minutes. So I need to get ready for that, for the cooking that I'm probably about to receive because of the Merseyside derby. But Mohamed, we're going to ask you for a prediction before we let you go, brother.
I'm going to say 3-1 Napoli.
With your chest, brother.
We'll concede, but we'll definitely concede. But if we're clinical, I think there's definitely chances there for Napoli, 100%. Especially with your woes at the right back position. I think Kvaratskhelia will eat, so to say. But I think there's definitely goals in it for us. It's obviously going to be a great game of football. It's going to be entertaining end to end because no one's going to sit back and defend. But I'll go 3-1. I'll go 3-1 Napoli. But at the same time, Liverpool could just. I mean, Liverpool are still one of the best teams in the world. Klopp is still one of the best managers in the world. Salah can still score a goal out of nowhere, etc., etc. But as things stands and as things are right now on form, there's no reason that Napoli shouldn't go and win. And also, the home field advantage in Champions League. It's our first Champions League back in 2 years. And I was telling Ohms as well, the stadium is completely sold out. You're not going to see a single empty seat in the stadium, apart from the first 2 rows, whatnot, because no one buys those tickets. But it is sold out currently. I was looking today, and there was no tickets available. So it's going to be roaring. It's going to be rocking, and it's going to be a great game of football.
Ohms, quick prediction.
I'm not going to back against Liverpool. I will say 2-1 to Liverpool. I think this will be a welcome sort of
distraction. Yeah.
Distraction. But look, I've said it, and I don't want to be seen as negative. If we come out there with a point in the form we have, I'll be satisfied. Because, like I said, this is the hardest game of the group. I fully expect us to beat Ajax home and away. Suffer here, but then the other teams, I fully expect us to beat Ajax home and away and Rangers home and away. So this for me is a tough one. The group stage is all about getting out the group, making sure you're not beaten to top in the group, and then we go from there. So I'll say 2-1 to Liverpool, but I'll be content with a draw.
Here we go, people. It's all set for tomorrow. If you want my opinion, I think we're going to win 2-0. It's going to be a shutout. Nobody is expecting Liverpool to keep a clean sheet except Grizz Khan. I'm going to see you tomorrow. No, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Yeah, okay. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Yeah, we've got another show tomorrow. I can't remember what show I've got tomorrow. Premier League Unpacked. But people, we're going to put in a surprise. Liverpool are known when their back's against the wall and other teams are pumping out their chest. We bring something different to the table.
It's true. And that's why I can't fully say with my chest. Like, I mean, we should get a result based on form, but it's Liverpool.
We've been to so many teams. They're in form and they're flying and the stadiums are rocking, but not many teams have the heritage that Liverpool have. And I think we're going to see that on Wednesday. It's going to be It's going to be loads of suffering, but I tell you what, it's going to be a chance to stand up. Our players haven't stood up this season so far. I'm going to be real with you. None of them have played to their level. But the likes of Fabinho, if he plays, the likes of Virgil, the likes of Mohamed Salah, they're going to have to stand up, because if they don't, Napoli will trample all over them. I'm saying that. I'm doing a disclaimer. If we don't stand up, if we stand up, we're going to shut them out and we'll catch them on the break, because I genuinely don't think their defense is as nowhere near as good as the rest of their team. So were you saying on something? Were you saying something on? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I just said let's try and flex our muscles.
We have to, because otherwise, if we don't, as I said, Napoli is one of those unforgiving grounds and teams right now that it's all about momentum and their crowd behind them. But we've been to noisy stadiums, atmospheric stadiums, where we slow the play down, and we're going to have to put in a clinic. I believe we will. But guys, Mohammed, thank you very much, my brother, for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Hopefully, we can do this a lot more. And it was an absolute pleasure. I love how knowledgeable you are of Napoli, and you've done your research and whatnot. So I appreciate. I
haven't. It's just
but you can tell that you know your football. So I genuinely do appreciate football.
No, it's been a lovely chat. It's been a proper chat.
Ohms as well. I feel like he's the more tactical guy that knows the nuances of football. So I appreciate that as well. So thank you so much.
100%. We told you, man. We told you at the start that this show, it's not going to be about slander and chatting trash, man. No, we ain't about that. That's why, you know what I mean, when people recommended you, you know what I mean, I checked you out, bro, and I knew you know what you're talking about. So it's been a pleasure. Guys, this has been a pre-match carnage for Napoli, Liverpool. We're going to see you tomorrow. Go and check out the Big Six right now. Go and check the brothers on their socials. Obviously, Omar is starting something. Omar, quick shout out for what you're starting. Quick.
Yeah, guys, I've collabed with Chris Khanage and Eurexpert. You might know them. We've started a new brand where we've sort of got everyone's bunch of content creators together. It's called @RevampTheGame on Twitter. It's starting off as a newsletter, and yeah, we're just gonna be producing a weekly newsletter, which is like 4 or 5 pieces long, and it's completely free. So there's honestly like the best, most high quality content creators on there. So
go and check out. Go on his Twitter. Go and check out on his Twitter. I'm gonna retweet it as well as soon as I get a chance. Go and check out Mohamed Salah's socials. Omar, if you could put it in the description. His
I think it's there already. Yeah.
It's there already. Go and check him out, people. Creating great content. Obviously knows the game as well. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. The chat's been amazing as usual. We out of here. Take care.